What's the deal? It's your boy Finesse Hustle back with another installment of Hood Prison Stories. So I'm gonna get right into it. Augusta YDC. So this was like one of my first times going to Juvenile, like really getting sunked up. I had been to RYDC down in Georgia, but this is like my first time going beyond that. So the way it was set up was you go and be housed around people according to your crime. So I had a person-to-person crime, an aggravated assault. So I had to go around people that did shit to other people too. So like rape, arson if somebody was in the house, shit like that, murder, and so what I didn't know is let me before I say this, the way it was set up so y'all can picture how we was living was they had like in the front they was calling them cottages, so because of the way they looked and shit. So they go by numbers. You might be in like cottage 9, cottage 8, shit like that. So where I was at, it was called cottage 9, and then on the back end it was another cottage connected to it, but they had different kind of crimes than us and shit. But how it was set up was they had a day room and shit in the front of the cottage and shit like that. They had like the regular jail tables, and then they had damn, it been a long time. I got to picture this shit my damn self. But yeah, that's what they had. They had goddamn the day room in the front where you could see in the windows and shit. Then off to the left, they had the closet and shit. That's what like all the little fights that happen, motherfuckers that get in there, catch a motherfucker. And then off to that, or to the right in the day room, they had a classroom and shit for like people that couldn't go to the big school that was on campus and shit like that. Then when you go further back, it was some bathrooms, the showers, and then beyond that was where all the bunk beds was at. So it'll be like one staff on deck and shit, and they'll sit like between where the bathrooms was at. They had like a little post and shit, but other than that, we was kind of running around that motherfucker. Then sometime the officer put his desk in the day room and shit, but yeah, like I said, we was just moving around that bitch. You just couldn't really leave out of there unless you had a pass to go here or there. So so now I can get to what I was trying to say is in that dorm, in all the dorms, it's sectioned off. And so when I first came in, I didn't know that. So like everything's sectioned off from the way you sit to when you go eat, all that shit. Only thing one section off is because they couldn't really do it, but they always tried, was the beds and shit. So it was sectioned off. But what I'm saying, like, as far as like Georgia. So anybody that been in the Georgia system in like YDC and shit like that, they know that it's up north against down south. So the top of the state against the bottom half of the state. So up north and down south Georgia, boy, shit like that. So when I got locked up in Hinesville, Savannah area, shit. So I was considered like down south or whatever. So how they was doing it, they'd just to see, they call it testing your mic. They wouldn't even let you know, like, they'd just get everything about you, like where you from and shit like that, or where you got locked up at. So that'll let them know, like, oh, okay, he from down south or he from up north and shit, unless you probably had somebody that you already knew in that bitch. So, you know, I'm coming from down there. I'm young. I'm one of the youngest in there, 11. So I ain't really know too many people my age that was getting locked up or like where I was coming from that was in there. So where I was at. So I'm sitting anywhere. So when you sit somewhere and that ain't in your designated area, the other side, they gotta stand on you to move you and shit. So they'll pick somebody out out of their little clique and shit to bust off on you and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? So that what was going on. So like my first few days, I got in fights and shit like that until I figured it out and shit. But you know, still coming from getting locked up out there, coming from that little town and shit, they was trying motherfuckers until I was standing on shit, fighting or whatever, and got my respect. But by being one of the youngest in there, they still, you know, if a motherfucker close to my age came in there and shit, we was fighting, you know, shit like that. So It was a dude came in there. He was from Griffin, Georgia. That's up north and shit. So he one of the youngest. We around the same age and shit. So we going in that broom closet, like I was telling y'all earlier how it was set up. We were going there and fighting shit. So, you know, me and him was going back and forth on the wins and shit. I'd catch him on one of his bad days and he'd catch me, you know what I'm saying, when he having him a good day. So it went back and forth like that. And then sometime we'll go in that bitch and it'll be up north against down south. Like if some of the main, like I'm preteen in that bitch, so it was motherfuckers in there that was like grown to us, shit, 18, 19, you know what I'm saying? Back then in the 90s, you can stay in Juvenile in Georgia till you was like 20 something. So that's how it was and shit. But yeah, so they'll be pitting us against each other and shit, fighting and shit. But when it really go up when it's up north against down south. So like Atlanta was, you know, trying to dominate shit. So it was always something with them and them niggas from Columbus, Georgia. They was getting it in too, and Albany. So when it came to down south, it was Albany and Savannah that was really holding it down. You know what I'm saying? So all the little cities around there, from Savannah or Albany and shit, them was all the cities that niggas looked up to in the down south car, if you want to call, you know what I'm saying? And then on the up north side, it was Atlanta, Athens, Macon, Columbus, Augusta, you know what I'm saying? So they had all the bigger cities and shit. So on the down south side, niggas just went hard, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, sometimes it'll be like, on the down south side, it's gonna be like niggas from Florida, you know what I'm saying? Cause it's just like that. Then when you go past Statesboro, yeah, shit like that, all down on the coast and shit, that shit down there like being in Florida, even though you in Georgia and shit. But motherfuckers get in the comments that been in YDCs and shit like that been in the system as a kid and shit. I want to hear y'all shit, you know what I'm saying?